Have you ever felt an unshakable fear not of the world outside, but of the person you might find inside yourself? What if the greatest terror you will ever face is not in the shadows of the world, but in the shadows of your own mind? Emerson believed that true freedom begins the moment you stop running from yourself. But why does meeting our true self feel like stepping into the abyss? And what would happen if you finally dared to look? There's a silence that feels louder than any scream. A moment when everything external falls away. No distractions, no noise, just you. And in that momentary, stripped bare, you realize the most terrifying thing isn't what others think of you. It's what you might think of yourself if you ever stopped long enough to truly see. You've built a life, brick by brick, mask by mask. You've smiled when you didn't mean it. You've nodded when you disagreed. You've walked paths that were never yours. You've obeyed rules you never questioned. You've become so skilled at pretending, you forgot what it was like to be real. And now, the truth waits like a ghost at the edge of your vision, whispering, do you dare remember who you are? You enter a corridor. It stretches on forever. Endless doors. Each one labeled with a moment you buried. Childhood shame. Broken trust. Dreams you abandoned. People you hurt. People who hurt you. And at the end of this hall, a single mirror, dust, covered, cracked, waiting. You don't want to approach it. You stall, distract, deny. But you know you always knew your journey ends there, because the mirror doesn't reflect your face. It reflects your essence. Emerson once said, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. But he knew something deeper, something more frightening. To be yourself, you must first meet yourself. And that meeting is no polite introduction. It's a reckoning. There's a version of you that lives underneath the roles, the expectations, the fears. A version of you that remembers what you truly loved before you were told what was acceptable to love. A version that speaks without censorship, acts without calculation, dreams without limit. That version is still there, breathing, watching, waiting, but buried under years of performance. So you keep walking through the corridor of mirrors, each one showing a piece of the self you denied. One shows the child who spoke truth too loudly and was punished for it. Another shows the teenager who questioned everything and was mocked. Another reveals the adult who wanted to leave it all behind and start again, but didn't. And the deeper you go, the more it hurts. Because you begin to see the price of your disconnection, the hollow achievements, the friendships built on surface smiles, the lovers who never touched your soul because you never let them near it, the days you wasted trying to become someone likable instead of someone real. The fear is not that you are nothing. The fear is that you are everything too much for this world to digest. Too wild, too honest, too radiant. So you dimmed yourself to fit. You became tame, predictable, harmless. You gave up the fire for the comfort of smoke, but now the smoke is choking you. You start to hear your own voice, not the one you use in conversations, but the one buried in your bones. It doesn't speak in language. It roars in intuition. It doesn't flatter. It confronts. It says, you were never meant to be small. You were never meant to be silent. You were never meant to live someone else's dream. That voice sounds familiar, like a song you heard once in a dream. A truth older than your name. You tremble, because if you listen, really listen, you'll have to change. You'll have to destroy the version of you that others approved of. You'll have to betray every lie you ever told to fit in. There is no map for this, No guide, no applause, just a descent into the unknown. Emerson spoke of self-reliance, but he didn't mean arrogance or ego. He meant the courage to rely on the truth within you when the whole world demands conformity. He meant trusting that inner compass even when it leads you away from the crowd. But here's the paradox. The closer you get to your truth, the more resistance you'll feel, not from others, from yourself. Your ego will scream, your habits will cling, your comfort will beg. Everything in you will try to pull you back into the known, into safety, into numbness, because meeting your true self is a death, not of your body, but of your identity. The identity you've worshipped like a god, the persona you polished, curated, defended, the story you repeated until it felt like fact. All of it must burn, and so you find yourself standing before that final mirror, the one that shows everything. You hesitate. Your reflection stares back not as you are, but as you've always been beneath it all, eyes burning with forgotten passion, scars shining like medals, a face not shaped by the world, but by the soul behind it. You reach out, your hand trembles. The glass is ice, then it melts beneath your touch, and suddenly you're no longer watching. You are inside the vast wilderness of your true self. It's not a place of peace not yet. It's chaotic, wild, unforgiving. There are storms here, earthquakes, echoes of every time you betrayed yourself. But there's also something else, something sacred, stillness. In that stillness, you begin to feel the weight of the years you spent abandoning yourself. You feel the ache of every time you said yes when you meant no, the sorrow of every dream you silenced, the rage of every boundary you allowed to be crossed, the numbness that crept in when you stopped feeling altogether, and then grief. For a life half lived, for truths half spoken, for a self half known. But within that grief, a spark, a pulse, a heartbeat that was always yours. You walk deeper into the wilderness. It's dark, but this darkness isn't evil, it's sacred. It's the womb of transformation, the space where illusion dies and truth is born. You begin to see symbols around you, a shattered clock dial lost, a wilted rose love denied, a broken compass guidance ignored, each one a memory, each one a lesson. You sit, you listen, you finally let yourself feel, and in that feeling, something ancient awakens. Not a thought, not an emotion, but a knowing. A voice older than language. It doesn't scream, it whispers. You are the one you've been waiting for. You shake because you know it's true. You've been seeking saviors, lovers, teachers, God's soul, to avoid the responsibility of being your own. You've begged the world for answers while ignoring the cathedral inside your own chest. And now there's no one left to hide behind, just you. And you begin to rise not as the version you were, but as the truth you are. Your spine straightens. Your eyes open. The wilderness becomes a sanctuary. The mirror becomes a window. The fear becomes fuel. Because you realize something vital: meeting your true self was never the end. It was the beginning of a life unshackled. You walk back through the corridor. The mirrors no longer scare you. You look into them and nod, not because they're pretty, but because they're real. You see the full picture now. The pain, the mistakes, the lies, but also the strength, the love, the fire. You aren't perfect. You never were. But you're no longer pretending. And that is freedom. You step outside. The world hasn't changed, but you have, And that changes everything. People still expect you to play the game, but now you know it's a game. They still offer you roles, but now you choose. They still demand masks, but now you breathe. And you begin to speak not from fear, not from performance, but from truth. Your voice shakes the air, not because it's loud, but because it's real. Some will walk away. Let them. Some will mock you. Ignore them. Some will try to pull you back. Resist them, because now you belong to no one but yourself. You've passed through the fire, through the mirror, through the silence. And on the other side, you found what the world told you didn't exist. Yourself. And you're not safe. You're not convenient. You're not tame. You are alive. And as the sky shifts, and the stars blink open like eyes finally seeing, you realize the fear was never about your darkness. The fear was about your light. Because if you are this powerful, this knowing, this radiant, then what excuse remains? What excuse is left to not rise? The answer echoes, none. You bow your head, not in submission, but in reverence. You've met the God within, and now there is no turning back.